Hey, welcome everybody to the afternoon repartee. Doug Padgett in with Hunter Hawes today. Hunter, I don't know if you felt that shake in the turbulence, that shake in the matrix, that dark cloud descending.
Dun, dun,
It wasn't just the crashing of an overly carb loaded diet this time. It wasn't just a guy running on sugar and caffeine. Nope. Air Force One came to the great state of Minnesota. And I made my way down to what turned out to be two partnered rallies. One that was in support of my representative, Ilhan Omar. And Ilhan has been attacked by Donald Trump in such horrible ways, and really I think has put her life in jeopardy. And I'm not using that just hyperbolically. I interviewed some people down at the rally today, some Trump supporters, and I was really unnerved for her safety after that meeting. So anyway, I went down to this rally, which I guess when I was going down, it hadn't really dawned on me that, of course, a whole lot of supporters of President Trump were going to be there, partly because anytime the president shows up somewhere, the supporters, they rally. And so there was hundreds of people who were there to support Donald Trump, and hundreds of people, I think more people at the Ilhan Omar supporting side. But the numbers really weren't what was interesting about it. What was interesting about it were the conversations that I had on both sides of the street. So I was sort of moving back and forth from side to side of the street because the people were literally lined up on two sides of the street. I have this up on my own Facebook page if people want to watch some videos up there. You can find Doug Padgett. So people are lined up on both sides. And, frankly, over on the one side, it's all the Trump supporters. And I mentioned in a couple of the interviews that I'm going to play for you here, some of the quirky weirdness that goes on at these kinds of get-togethers. Apparently people have made and then brought there, or maybe they were selling them there, I don't know, American flags with Donald Trump's face on them and him giving the big thumbs up.
and I'm sure that doesn't violate the flag code.
Well,
remember when they were all uppity about that?
Yes, that I tried to ask everyone I could in that interview. I'm like, hey, does that throw you a little? In fact, one interview that I didn't keep in what I'm going to play today, one woman holding a flag that had that on there said, yeah, that is a little much, isn't it? At least she suggested that maybe there was some moment of pause. But it really feels to our argument that Thom Hartmann has made, that I have made, that a number of other people much smarter than me have made, that if you think about some of the people inside the Trump supporting base, more like people that support someone in some kind of fanatical movement or cult, that's a better way to think about them. Not quite just fans. These are not just fans. These are fanaticals. These are people that have stepped over the line. I mean, some people were there, and you're going to hear some interviews from some reasonable people that were just like, hey, I'm here to see the president and kind of want to see his car drive by. And that's essentially what happened. All you see when you're standing on the street is the car drive by. But for 2.5 hours, people are facing each other on two sides of the street, this physical manifestation of the divide in this country, side by side. So I moved from side to side, interviewed people that were there to support Donald Trump and people that were there to support Ilhan Omar. And the fact that that's happening, the fact that the world has been now divided into this two sides, that everyone is not rallying around the support of a congresswoman, just seems to be outrageous. But the vitriol against her is incredible. So I'm going to play a little bit of that. And you're going to hear some of the typical tropes. I had really hoped that what would happen is, because it's Minnesota and all, that I would get there and I'd meet people and find out that the storyline is different. And shockingly, it wasn't. Now, I will say this, and maybe you have a comment there, but I will say this. Anybody who shows up on a street corner in the middle of a Monday to stand outside in the wind, they're kind of true believers on both sides, right? There's no fair weather fans. There are a couple of kids dragged there by their parents, some of them teenagers that look like they were a little fair weather. But for the rest of the people there, I mean, it's a self-selected subgroup that's awfully intense. That's there.
Well, you said that the crowds for the standing with Ilhan and the Trump supporters were kind of the same.
Yeah, roughly the same.
I'm going to have to get Sean Spicer's exact count on these.
That's flashback humor right there, friends. That is flashback humor. Yeah, it's because they were just standing further apart. That's why it looked bigger on the Ilhan Omar side. Okay, so here's a couple of themes came up over and over, and you can see this coming. I mean, when I was listening to it happen, and I'm just milling through the crowd, tried to find women. I tried to mostly interview women on both sides. Occasionally, there's a man. You'll hear from some of them, but I tried to interview women on both sides, and the themes that come out are the themes that come straight out of Donald Trump's propaganda machine. Like, it's incredible. These people are making arguments. But the first one I'm going to play for you here comes from someone who's talking about immigrants coming in the country for free money. It's this entire narrative that people want to come into America because they want things for free. Almost all the comments that I heard from people on the side of that were there to support Trump were somehow couched in some sort of grievance that someone's breaking a rule somewhere, and that's what's caused the problem. And I think that's worth listening to. I think for me personally, the specific topics are so wildly uninformed, I don't find them useful. But some of it is a little bit helpful just to hear the narrative of grievance and how grieved people feel. I will say that the makeup of the crowd was similar. I think there were more people of color on the Ilhan Omar side. That was a difference. But by age and sort of by temperament and so on, just sort of the way people looked and dressed, it looked very similar. It would have been hard, short for the hats, the red hats on the one side of the street, it would have been hard to tell who was with whom. Other people I talked to on the Ilhan Omar side were saying that they could really see the differences. I didn't notice them quite as much. I don't think they were as pronounced as it seemed like. Okay, so here's the first one. This is an older woman that I talked to, and she had been yelling something across the street really aggressively at the Ilhan Omar side. So I walked over and said, I heard you yelling. Can you tell me what it is that you that you were saying? And here's that brief interview.
Not hard. All right, hi. My name's Doug. Marilyn, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Marilyn, we're standing out, I'll just paint a picture of people. We're standing out here on one side of the road, which feels to me like it's sort of the support Donald Trump side. There's American flags with this picture on it, which I find a little odd, actually, to put a person's face on the American flag. But and on the other side of the road, there's people that are here to support Representative Ilhan Omar. So what brought you out here today?
Support Donald Trump. That's crap. We saw people being paid over there.
Who got paid?
Money being passed.
Really?
There's some very fishy people around here.
Is there anybody getting paid over here on this side? You're not getting paid, are you?
Heavens, no.
Yeah.
No, I'm only
I should say I am because I'm here on work. I'm here on work, so this is work life for me. But
no, I think if we go with that kind of crap, we're dead.
What are you seeing over there? When you point across the street and say, go with that kind of crap, we're dead. What are you seeing?
Omar?
Yeah.
She's wants to destroy America.
What tells you that? What have you heard from her or seen?
Well, they can come over here and harass us, but we can't go over there. But then they turn us. They call the police, and the police come.
You mean them and here? You mean across the road?
The protesters, they can come over here, but we can't go over there.
Who said you can't go over there?
You watch somebody try to do it.
Oh, come over. Would you come over with me?
No,
Okay.
I'm not getting involved in that crap.
Okay.
No, I think she took her oath on a Quran, not the Bible.
Yeah.
And I think that is just a disgrace.
Yeah.
The whole thing, and the people over there that, they want everything for free. Work for a living. If you want something, work for it.
Yeah. What do you do for work?
I'm an advertising sales.
Yeah. So you feel like a lot of those people over there they're not pulling their weight.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people coming into this country illegally that they come in and they get $3,500 a month, and senior citizens get about $1,300 a month.
How do they get $3,500 a month from?
Check it out. Go check out Social Security and welfare and all that with food stamps and housing and cars, and they get all of that. They get education, and I've lived here all my life. She doesn't get free education. She doesn't get free health care. She doesn't get free anything. Huh. They do. That's not fair. I don't want to.
Do you think that's an income-related monies that they're getting?
It's free money given by the government because the Democrats are giving it to them because they want them to come in and vote Democrat.
Huh.
They don't want it. If Republicans were coming in the southern border, it would be shut down right now.
How come people that cross the border don't vote for Republicans?
Because we don't get free stuff. You got to work for a living.
So you don't think people crossing the border are crossing to take jobs?
Oh,
that used to be the thing I would hear, that they're going to come take our jobs, but you're saying they're coming here specifically not to work?
To get a free handout. A good majority of them, not all of them.
Huh. So the ones that, yeah. Okay. Have you ever been to anything like this before?
No, I tried to go to the Trump rally when he was running for office.
Yeah.
But there were so many people at the airport, you just couldn't get near it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what got you out here today?
Supporting Trump and getting rid of Omar.
Getting rid of her?
Yeah, get her out of office. She's doing more harm than good. You're a Democrat, liberal, aren't you?
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah. But I've just never heard someone say, let's get a seated member of Congress out of office.
It's all over the newspapers.
What are they talking about Trump?
Yeah, what are they talking about Trump? They want to impeach Trump.
Oh yeah, I want to impeach Trump too. Yeah, but that's what I was going to add. That's what I thought you were saying, that there was something to like remove her from office. That's why I was confused.
I just got done telling her 5 minutes ago that I no longer will talk to liberals because they twist and turn. I'm done. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Okay.
And that's how it ends. So I don't know, Hunter, could you sort of feel the line that happened there?
Yeah.
Kind of the conspiracy theories that start at the beginning?
You know what you should have answered when she asked, you're a Democrat liberal? You should go, I'm a pastor. And it would have really boggled her mind.
I should have Buttigieg'd her. I should have said I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian pastor. But yeah, I wanted to be really frank with everybody when they would sort of, because based on the questions I would ask, and I think the look on my face, they would they would ask. They almost all did. But boy, you can just sort of hear the talking points go right down the line, right? Those aren't real protesters. Those people are being paid. That stuff's going to destroy America. She put her hand on a Quran. They're freeloaders. They're getting paid $3,500 a month. Let's get rid of her. I don't talk to liberals. Like just in one conversation with just one person, it was all there. And the part of what strikes me so deeply about that is it's just so it's so well integrated. Right? Like she just moves seamlessly sort of from topic. She kind of hit the greatest hits.
Yeah.
Kind of going right down the line. And that's just a person that, was right here somewhere in the Burnsville, Savage, Minneapolis, St. Paul area that could drive over and stand on the street corner. It's not, it wasn't cherry picked, like find the most odd person.
That's what was shocking to me is like, you hear that talk on like a right-wing media all the time and their little gotcha segments, but it was like, man, that's Minnesota. That's one of our neighbors, and it's just so towing the line. That was pretty shocking.
And so fully integrated. Like she wasn't searching for words. They were all right there, right?
Yeah.
Almost like a set of talking points. It's something worth paying attention to, just to recognize how deeply she was in, right? Like if you did think about this as a fanatical movement, which I think is a helpful way, you'd want to tell yourself, what does it take to get somebody out of a fanatical movement? And there's a whole process by which you go about doing that. Tom Hartman did a presentation at Blue State Ball about that. All right, let's run into a break. Then we come back. I'm going to introduce you to Karen. Karen was standing on the other side of the street, and Karen was just quite inspiring to me. So when we come back, we'll talk to people from the Support Ilhan Omar side of the street at the competing rallies today down there in Burnsville. This is the Minnesota Progressive Repartee. I'm Doug Padgett and Hunter Hawes.
Hi, Minnesota. It's Tom Hartman, and you're listening to the Minnesota Progressive Repartee on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
That little dark-hearted or dark-sounding bumper there. That's pretty much what I experienced today when I went down to Burnsville at the rally to support Ilhan Omar. That was keyed off because Donald Trump is in town. He was speaking in going to meet up to speak inside of a factory or a trucking company or trucking warehouse. That was right behind us. So there were two sides to the road, as I described, people supporting President Trump on one side and people supporting Representative Ilhan Omar on the other. But the divide wasn't about that. The divide is about the view of America. And I met Karen over on the support Ilhan Omar side. And Karen, Hunter, your comment when you said I should have responded with I'm a pastor. Well, as it turns out, all the pastors that I met there, they were all over on the support Ilhan Omar side.
Well,
Like all the people on the other side were saying Christian values and Merry Christmas and all this stuff, but all the religious people, professional religious people that I met, they're all over on the Ilhan Omar side.
At church yesterday after service, we had a meeting about should we as a congregation respond to Trump's statements against Ilhan Omar, and then we decided to do it as like faith community and join others. But yeah, that's exactly what we talked about yesterday at church.
So I met Karen. Karen works at United Seminary. She's also a pastor. You couldn't have seen that by her standing there. She was just standing there holding a sign, and I started engaging with her, and she's fantastic. She's also a regular AM 950 listener, listens top to bottom. I met a bunch of listeners out there, actually.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they're everywhere. And so Karen, great to meet you, and here's my conversation with Karen.
Go ahead. Okay, so Karen, we're standing out here on the side of the road. On the other side, there's a line of Trump supporters.
Yep.
That have Trump signs and flags with his picture on it, which I find sort of curious and a little...
It's fascistic.
Yeah, it's fascistic is a good word. And then over on this side is a group of people hundreds of people, I'm guessing here, that have rallied to support Ilhan Omar. What brings you out today?
Well, I just couldn't stand by knowing that our Congresswoman is being threatened by the President of the United States.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand by and let it be a situation where we're not standing up for our Congresswoman, and also we have to make sure that people know that all of the activities, all the things that we're seeing in this country, when you add them all up together, is a slow march towards a pre-fascist state, particularly since the propaganda, the us versus them, the idolatry of a leader, all of those things have been seen in history to be markers for a weak democracy which turns to fascism. So that's one thing. Madeleine Albright's book on Fascism, A Warning was a really good reason for me to be out here, because I know around the world this global movement towards authoritarianism has to stop, and we have to take a stand against it. If we don't come out publicly with our bodies and our voices, we're not going to be heard, and things will tend to slip.
Do you do this kind of thing regularly? Come out and stand on
Not regularly.
street corners?
No, actually, I'm a 950 AM radio addict, and I mostly listen to the radio at work all day long, from Stephanie Miller till very late at night, and your show as well. But it's important that we show a multicultural, multiracial, multi-religious presence here. I'm also a minister, and my faith tells me that this is not what we're going to be able to stand.
So we just heard in the background there people singing This Little Light of Mine, which is a classic sort of Christian-oriented movement song. A number of people on the other side that I talked to have said that the reason they support Donald Trump is because they support his Christian faith, his support of Christian life, saying Merry Christmas.
There's nothing about him is Christian. There's nothing about his behavior, his language, his malignant narcissism. None of that is a Christian value. In fact, most of these people couldn't point to a text in the Bible that would be able to support what they're talking about. So that's idiotic.
Yeah.
Jesus would not support Donald Trump.
This is a really serious turnout of people here, sort of on both sides, actually. Do you think this, the kind of crowd here standing down in, I don't know, if we're in Burnsville or Shakopee or really where we are, does this say anything to you about the turnout that's here? Well,
the turnout isn't as important as the voices that are heard, I think. I don't care how many people here. There could be 2 people there and 5 people there, or vice versa. But the important thing is that our voices are being heard. We cannot stand for the end of the rule of law. We cannot stand for the end of this democracy. We cannot stand for these malignant lies to be told every single day about who we are as a country. I believe that we're better than this, but I'm not very, I'm also one of the people that predicted that Trump would be elected from listening to right-wing radio as well as much as well, and I think he does have a chance to win again if Electoral College has anything to do with it.
A number of the people that I talked to on the other side of the street there were saying that they feel like America's really on the verge of falling apart if people on this side of the street win. And I sort of heard you feeling that that side represents some real fear for the future. What are your thoughts on that? That people on both sides are sort of fearful of the American future?
Well, I think they're fearful based on an emotional charge that Donald Trump gives to their racist attitudes about everyone. Look at them. They're all white. They're all being very hateful in their commentary. It's a very monochromatic. I think this brother here says the group of people. So that is an indicator to me that we're headed towards some very difficult times ahead.
Yeah.
It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse.
Yeah, it feels like an existential crisis in the country, doesn't it? Just standing here. I mean, it really feels...
It is. It really is.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
All right.
So there it is. We call this the voice of Minnesota, and getting out and talking to Minnesotans on both sides. That last point there, I think you just really hear it, how people on each side of the street feel like the people on the other side represent a real risk to the future of America, that something is going to be lost or has been lost. And, if commonality is the thing that brings people together, I guess both people on both sides feeling that something's being lost is certainly shared. And how we find a solution, I guess, is the work we all have to do. All right, we're going to run to a break, and then we'll come back with some more of the interviews and commentary from what was happening down the street of Minnesotans facing off with other Minnesotans today here on the Minnesota Progressive Repartee on AM 950. Hey, welcome back to the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, your Minnesota Progressive Repartee. So I was interviewing people today, and I'm going to play this next clip. Number 3 there, Hunter, is what we're going to play, but we're not going to play it all the way through. It gets to a point where I interview this first person I was speaking to, then I interview her son, and we'll cut out the part with her son, but then we will play number 4. So here's what's going on. When I went back across the street, there was a particular person standing there, and I went to her and said, "Hey, can I chat with you?" And I called her recording in my my file here the reasonable woman, and it was important to me to play this bit too, because not everyone standing on that side of the road fits the paradigm. I'm going to play for you in a bit somebody who is a man who's I think a danger to the safety of America. Who's also standing, and he came up to me right while I was talking to this woman. And my conversation with her happened because I talked to the person standing next to her, and the woman standing next to her went on a really intense anti-immigrant, they're all illegals, and all the kind of mythical metaphors that they make up about immigrants in this country. And then this woman then started to share her perspective. And I guess I bring it up because she's a Trump supporter. But as she puts it, she supports the president. And I think she's a bit conflicted about it. So I guess the most hope I got out of today is that there are still some people who find themselves firmly on one side of the street that are a bit conflicted. And I thought it'd be good to hear this perspective before we hear the other ones that are a little more harsh on the edge. So here she is.
All right, so we're standing on the side of the street. It's a group of people chanting "God Bless America" as they walk by. The side of the street we're on has American flags with Donald Trump's picture on it, which is a little weird, but, well, it's just a little weird. What brings you out today?
We live right up the street.
Oh.
My son is home from college, political science major.
Oh, this is your son.
He didn't know this was going on, so I texted him and said, "Let's go and check it out."
Yeah.
So here we are.
What do you think about the people over on the other side? What do you think that's all about over there? They support Ilhan Omar's side of the street.
I actually work in Edina, and Edina supports Ilhan. I don't really want to comment on it. I hear people like her.
Yeah.
I'm not against the whole immigration. I don't think they're coming here to not work. Our immigrants are coming here for a better life.
Yeah.
So disagree. They're not coming here to
There's different. There's different opinions on this side of the street too.
I never heard about the rapes and the headlines.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that yet. Yeah. So people are a little, they're misguided. They just don't fully understand or want to.
There's lots of obviously lots of opinions. But you're a Trump supporter, though. Yourself?
I support the president. Tell me if they did.
As the president or as
the president.
I see.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
As a woman.
How does that feel? You hear a lot of people in the media, people of particular political opinions, like me, who will say things like, boy, I feel like Trump supporters are kind of anti-women, or they're full of hate, there's an non-white narrative going on, all that. You're a white woman standing over here on this side of the street. How does any of that, when you hear that, have you heard that before? Do you hear that from anyone? And how do you respond when you hear people say things like that?
I think Trump has made people become a little more mean than what they say. It's kind of sad because I really want to like him, but as a person, I think he's kind of disgusting. And as a woman, you know, if I was a man, maybe whatever. It's like bar talk. You know, anything goes.
Yeah.
But in real life,
I'll tell you though, as a guy that sits in bars sometimes, I don't tolerate men talking like that. I mean, it's just, it's good. Men could stand up a little bit to each other, I think, sometimes, not get bullied.
If I was 20, maybe I'd find some humor in it.
Yeah.
But as a 50-year-old woman, I'm not pleased.
You're a little torn, it sounds like.
I think a president needs to be held to a higher standard.
Yeah.
And in this one, we've just kind of let it slide like anything goes.
Yeah.
You know, lying, you know, degrading women, immigrants, you know, different races.
Do you know how you're going to vote yet? Is that decided, or are you vote or non-voter?
No,
do you vote all the time?
Yeah, I vote always.
You vote all the time, yeah.
But do I vote specifically Democrat or Republican? No. I vote for the best person.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this time I felt that Trump was the better person over Hillary. But I left the pool sick to my stomach after voting.
Yeah.
And had I been a drinker, I thought I'd probably go to the bar and drink all day, but I'm not a drinker.
I tell men to stop talking like that if they're in the bar. Hey, do you mind if I ask you
Hey, okay, so you can cut it there, Hunter. Isn't that interesting? You know, she said, I felt sick when I left the polls. I felt like I had to make a tough choice. I want to like him, but frankly, he disgusts me. But she's clearly standing on that side. You know, I just think I think that's a tale.
Well, it sounded like she was standing more on that side because he was the president and that her son was in political science. So,
yeah. And then her son, college aged, you know, said, you know, basically, well, if Ilhan Omar would speak out against terrorism, then maybe people would support her. And then his mother comes back with a retort, and if you'll play number 4, this is after her son makes this line about, well, she should come out and not be basically coddling terrorists.
That when Americans, what we ask of our immigrants that come here is that you get an education, you get a job, you get involved with your community. That's exactly what Elon did, and it's still not good enough for her. You know, she didn't come here as an adult. She came here as a kid.
Yeah.
She got a great education. She did everything we asked, but now because she is a Muslim, no, it's still not good enough.
Amazing, huh?
It is. It's sad, you know. It will always be like that, you know. We're at double standards, I guess, for people.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
So there she was. She basically says to her son, like, basically, I think you're saying that because she's a woman and she's a Muslim woman, and that's why she's held to a different standard. So she's got her finger on. So the little bit of hope I have as somebody who's quite partisan in these issues is that person there represents more of the Trump supporters than some of the other people that we've heard from. Mm-hmm. All right, so you want to go dark for a minute then? All right, we'll play number 8, if you will. So right there, talking with that person, with that woman, a man walks up, and he really wanted to talk to me. He knew that I was doing this for the radio. He was standing there listening to us. He leaned in, and he said something, and then I said, "Can you say that again?" And then we have this interaction. This is a older man, I don't know, 60 plus, white older man, and this is what happened.
And crawl in a hole and die.
Sorry, start that over again.
I'd like to see Ireland crawl in a hole and die.
Why would you say that about a person?
Any person that's ignorant, stupid, obnoxious shouldn't be allowed to live. How's that?
Horrible, actually.
It is horrible.
Like, are you calling for people that you think are not your kind of person to die?
You got it.
How'd you get to this point? What's happened? What have you always thought that way, or
No.
do you think people over there think you should die?
I don't know.
I hope they don't. I don't want you to die. I hope you thrive. I hope you find life and find it to the fullest.
She's worthless, obnoxious,
White line, everybody. White line.
unbelievable.
What has she done that's caused you to have such
All
a
her stupid comments. But anyway,
Yeah.
and these retarded people believe in her. Oh my God!
Yeah. I hear people.
That's the saddest thing.
There's a number of people in the country, I'm one of them, who feel that way about Donald Trump, that I feel like I cannot believe that people listen to him, believe him. How do you feel about that when you hear people like me say, I think Donald Trump is a wackadoodle that's unpatriotic and shouldn't be president of the United States?
Inside.
That's insane.
Inside.
Yeah.
I'm a big Trump supporter.
Yeah.
He's 2 steps above God.
Say that again?
He's 2 steps above God.
What does that mean, 2 steps above God?
Super brilliant, excellent, does wonders for the country. And people like you don't have enough intelligence to see it.
Yeah, apparently I don't, because I don't see that at all. Hey, thank you for your comments.
Yeah.
So that was terrifying to me, Hunter.
That was the basket of deplorables that Hillary was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's, he was clearly ginned up. And again, look, people are out at a rally like this, but I don't think anyone's saying something that doesn't represent what's in there somewhere. And when he comes out and says she should crawl in a hole and die, she basically doesn't have the right to live. And then follows up with, I'm a big supporter of Donald Trump. He's 2 steps above God. And I asked him twice to repeat that. And he said he's brilliant. He does wonders. And those of you who don't know, you're too ignorant and you don't have enough intelligence to know that. I'll tell you, as a religious person, that's all religious language. When someone equates Donald Trump, usually they only equate someone as being sent from God. This guy went another step. Donald Trump is 2 steps above God. She should die. And if you don't think that's right, it's because you don't understand. That is what scares people in this country. I don't know that this man has any ill intentions about Ilhan Omar, but those comments, those are fed by the president. Those are fed by an entire right wing. That is dangerous. I wasn't even sure if I should play that on the radio. I find it so vile. But I think if we don't recognize it, standing right next to the woman who said, I feel sick, I don't know what to do, I support him as a president, but not as a person, somebody else steps up and says, he's 2 steps above God and the person that he opposes should die. It is terrifying. It's something that we just can't stand for, and we have to do something about it. So when we come back, you're going to hear from one of the organizers of this event, the one who organized the rally to support Ilhan Omar, for a little bit of hope coming out of this segment. So this is Doug Padgett, and this is the Minnesota Progressive Repartee on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. We'll be back in a moment.
Hello, this is Andrew Yang, Democratic candidate for president, and you're listening to Minnesota Progressive Repartee.
Hey, thank you, Andrew Yang. Nice of you to think about us. Hey, Hunter, let's hold off on that last clip. I'll play it tomorrow. I want to give it enough time, and I can see that David and Mark and Gary have made some calls. So I want to take callers here for the last segment on their thoughts on this. And I'll finish up some of this conversation tomorrow with some of the people that organized the rally to support Ilhan Omar. It was really worth listening to. So that number is 952-946-6205. Hey, Gary, what are your thoughts?
No, this is Mark.
Oh, hey, Mark.
Hey, I got to commend you, man. I mean, you deserve a combat journalism ribbon.
Come
on. I'm glad now that I wasn't able to go there, because I do not function very well in that type of ignorant environment.
You would have popped a fuse, my friend.
Yeah, well, I hope you send that to CNN and all of the local network affiliates. Distribute that. And I just want to let the other callers get on, but in 2016, Donald Trump was debating Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton said that when he had to apply for his Atlantic City gambler's license, he had to provide his tax records, and he found that they didn't pay taxes. Mm-hmm. And Hillary Clinton challenged him and said, Donald, you don't pay taxes. And he says, and his exact quote was, because I'm smart.
Right.
Smart people don't pay taxes. That's a guy that's living here, that's not contributing, that's sucking the blood out of this country. And those ignorant, redneck, listen, God bless you for what you did today. That was awesome work.
Yeah, thanks. And I know I get the frustration, and I mean, my head spins too, and it's easy to feel like, like people are just other, right? And to just move them into a and I felt this myself, just move people into the category on the other side of the street. I will just caution all of us against that as much as possible. The notion of free speech is not to protect people who say things that we like and we agree with. Now, I do think we have to win an entire battle of ideas, and I think we have to win an entire culture of inclusion. And we have to do that by getting more than 50.1% of the vote. Like, we really have to build that out. And it's extraordinarily hard in circumstances that we're in right now. And it's just being there and feeling it sort of side to side, sort of like I felt like I was in a canoe. Hunter, you might get this thing. I see you as a canoer. Like, you're sort of on the right side of the boat, and then you're on the left side of the boat, right? And being like moving from side to side and recognizing that people on both sides are literally looking across, a 20 or 30 foot road and just like, who are you people? And almost no one, and I'm not bragging about this, is my job to do this, but almost no one would walk across that road. Or like the first person that we played the interview from, she has said, I don't talk to you people at all. I knew a number of people who were on the side that I would be on that road that feel the same way. They just can't seem to engage in conversations with people that are different than them. And sometimes it really feels dangerous. And I'm not saying that everyone is safe to even cross that road, because as we heard in that one final clip that we played there, it's not entirely safe for people. There's real threat to life that comes on from that side of the road. And it's that's scary business. And sometimes you don't know if you're the one trafficking in the conspiracy rumors or not. But in this case, I don't think there's any doubt that people in this country, many people, especially people of color and people of non-normative ways of life, really are under threat. And it's right here in Minnesota as much as anywhere else. Hey, Gary, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was thinking when they play with that old guy said he wishes we were all dead because we disagree with him. That's a lot of that's a result of a poison put out for years from Fox News. It used to be Republican TV, now it's Trump TV. And, you go back, it was there in the first place, a lot of this stuff. Our country was founded on slavery in the South, and the Yankee Army, the Southern Army, was fighting for slavery. The Yankee Army was the ones fighting over new immigrants from Ireland and Germany, a lot of them that were wage slaves, got these terrible jobs that you couldn't live on hardly. And anyways, so we've always had plunder and exploitation in this country. And the land was, they exterminated the buffalo so the Indians would die, the Plains Indians. So it's been in our culture. Look at the way they treat working people before we had Roosevelt and unions.
Yeah,
and
Gary.
It's getting bad again.
Gary, I think that's a really wise point. The man can sound so extreme. But boy, you think about the history of this country, of course, the indigenous peoples, many of whom were exterminated in this country because they weren't seen as valuable enough to live, and they weren't seen as receiving all the fullness of human response. So when that happens, on a street corner now from an older person, it startles. But part of what startles us is our recognition that that's been going on. That's what funded the chattel slavery movements. That's what's funded Jim Crow. That's what has funded our war ideas in this country. The idea that a just war means that somehow somebody's worthy of dying so that your side can win to protect your values. And I got to tell you, it's moments like that when you're standing on a street talking to someone and you feel that the President of the United States has threatened the well-being of a sitting congressperson and a citizen of this country, it really scares you. But as we've been reminded by so many people in so many situations, this isn't new to our day. But it is our fight. And just because it's not new doesn't mean we don't take it on. And just because it isn't new doesn't mean it can't be solved in a different way. This is our day. This is our fight. This is our time to wake up and to stand up and to speak up. And I feel extremely grateful that my schedule and life and temperament allows me to go out and to be in these places. And anyone who can do it, I encourage you to do it on behalf of others. Because if we don't find these times and places when we can go out and stand up to people and proudly say, this is how I think and this is how I vote. I'm quite certain that people on both sides of that road don't know people that they feel care for them that disagree with them. So this kind of vitriol can build, and all of a sudden this war mentality and this all or nothing and this life or death thing happens. And, there's nothing worth fighting for, in my view, that would cause us to want the end of another person's life. I don't think that's how it goes. The other throw this last comment, and maybe we can talk about it more tomorrow. A number of people that I interviewed, and I can play some more clips tomorrow, said things like, this is me interpreting a bit. It's really painful when someone in your family, excommunicates you because you support Trump. There's a lot of us feel that tearing because conservative people in our lives have sort of left us and we've left them. People on the other side feel it too. So there's a rending, there's a splitting, there's a tearing, there's a breaking, and it's real. And I felt it out on that street today. Hey,